I saw it.
So I'll go ahead and call this meeting to order.
That will be had, so. Yeah.
Don't know if I should thank y'all or not, but I appreciate at least the vote of confidence to have me as chairman again. See, everyone's here. Yeah, apparently Rick got stuck in San Diego. Oh, rough place to get stuck in, I guess, this kind of weather here. We've got minutes, Rosalie is, should be there laying with your packets. Give everyone a time just to kind of scroll through those.
Motion to accept the minutes.
Second. All in favor? Aye. All right, with that done, we'll get on to our first one. So, you know, we were just, y'all were discussing this, at our, January 4th meeting, the whole, blasting permit. So planning got a hold of it and pulled the blasting permit application out of, Gordon's or Goodlettsville and out of Lebanon. And out of those two, we came up with this, planning got a hold of it and was kind of going through, and these are the kind of things, suggestions that they were looking at. And they made a motion for Rosalie to, get a document together for, collecting information. So no fee associated to it. So don't really know if we can even call that a permit, but this body can come up with permits, being part of the commission, so figured we'd take that a little step further. Now, this document doesn't include anything about a fee or permit cost. So it would be something that Rosalie could go ahead and start using, with the motion out of planning. It just is a collector of information. Now, there are some things in there, that would have to be voted on as the full commission, I would believe. At the bottom there, the no blasting allowed within 50 foot of streams, no blasting allowed within 50 foot of the gas lines, or 100 foot of the steel gas lines. That reading there, to me, would actually constitute an ordinance of such. I believe that would have to go between the full commission, but I've got Brandon Miller looking into that right now. Looking at this document, does anyone see anything, any information that's been left out, or anything would need to remove as far as the commission goes?
Mr. Chair, the fire department does not have any type of a permit that is referenced about midway there on the page.
Okay.
I don't object at all to being notified, but we have no kind of permit that a blaster would complete.
As far as for the storing of it on property,
Correct.
is there anything with the fire marshal's office that the state would have on file for that? I would think that they would have.
There probably is, but not that I'm aware of. Locally, there's never been anything.
Okay. Cause a lot of this document, from what I have found, is just a collection of what they're already filing for the state. It just allows us to have it on hand locally, instead of having to contact the state fire marshal to get the information. So if there's anything that, you know, the
I'd
mayor's
like
office
to be
gets.
contacted if
Yes,
they're
sir.
storing blasting devices somewhere.
Mhm.
But I have no permitting mechanism for them
Yes, sir.
to utilize.
So we would need
So if you
to,
want to edit that
yeah.
and strike the permitting
So,
part.
yeah, the additional permitting is required. We could change that to,
Just make sure they notify us.
well,
Fire department.
Well, would
to
it be,
provide you a copy of their state permit.
Well,
Yeah,
I
but-
assume I'll get a copy of this one.
Yes.
Yeah.
make sure,
And this has all their, I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, they should be compliant to all federal blast, what is it called? Pyrotechnic and explosive magazines that are maintained on premise that are
Mhm.
unmanned.
And the blasters that have contacted me up to this point I had told them we had no local guidelines, so they would have to comply with all of the guidelines the state has in place and at least fulfill them.
And on this document, it gives them a checklist there to attach copies of their license or certificate of insurance, federal license of purchase, and their handler's card and driver's license for identification. So that they've got all their stuff. Okay, I am who I say I am.
Well, they've got to use special rubber mattings over the blasting site.
And that's all
That-
state
Yes,
regulations.
that minimizes the debris spray.
There'll be an inspector, their state inspector when they do
Right.
that.
I'm not qualified to be such an inspector, but the state, I assume,
Yes.
can provide you one.
And at the same time, this isn't just for Enbridge, this isn't just for Jones Brothers with the road construction. I mean, this would also be for a construction company having to blast for a basement.
Right.
And so where Jones Brothers, you know that they have all their ducks in a row. Enbridge, you know, but a local contractor might be hiring somebody, a buddy who has a license, but not have the insurance and everything else that goes along with it. I think this is more to protect the community and at least to have that information. If something were to go wrong, then they have something to fall back to talk to.
Wouldn't you have the EMA or EMS both to be notified when they
Well,
notify?
In our case,
That way
one's
they
the
know
same,
it
so-
and they
yeah.
be more prepared to respond if there's an accident.
Well,
Somebody gets
and-
hurt.
And I'll be honest, the bottom line there, copies too. That was taken off the one from Lebanon and they didn't include EMS in theirs, but if that's something this body would like to add to it. I can understand at least being on alert during those time periods. So that the director could be aware and have the correct staffing if something were to happen, because you figure if an accident happens in that situation, it's gonna be more than one person that's gonna be injured. So he might need to have maybe an extra staffing during that time or.
They also needed to know about the, like traffic control.
Yeah.
Because if they're, and they're
Schools
used to
get that.
going
If
certain
school,
ways, yeah.
now if you have it at 4 o'clock, it'd be all right, cause school is
Yeah.
already, the traffic's already gone from that, so.
I think it's prudent to have EMS on there. I would also like to, on this checklist,
Mhm.
put on a block there that we need a copy of their state fire marshal's permit.
Okay. Anyone have a problem with that?
That way they know what we expect to.
I don't know if they would store. They might, but I don't. I think they probably have them on a truck that's built for the haul,
For transporting?
yeah. But they just let not leave them up there overnight.
Well, I know just like, ARC out there at the power pump site, with the explosives that they have for the airbags and stuff, that's all transported in water. So,
Just static electricity will discharge and stuff.
so are we saying the italicized underneath here to be taken off? Because if explosives are stored on site, I mean, we're gonna be contacting, Mr. Wheeler anyway.
Mhm.
He's gonna be getting one of these copies as well.
Yeah.
And on there, it's gonna be on there, yes.
I wanted to bring it through this body first before we send it on, in case we were making any changes. Well, I still think it's prudent that Mark has at least a copy of their permit. If they're going to store on site.
Yeah, well, it's gonna be marked on this, you get a copy of this, right?
Yeah.
How would you like to be able to read that information, Mr. Beaver?
Most of that language in there is fine. There is just no additional permitting that we have in place. So you can strike what you
Yes.
want or edit what you want, but
So instead
from a
of,
fire department standpoint, we don't have any additional permitting.
so we could remove the additional permitting and just put in its place, copy of.
Notification is what we would appreciate.
Well, you're gonna get notification because you'll get a copy of this, but I'd also like for you to be able to get a copy of their blasting permit if they're gonna have anything on site. Cause they should have a second, an additional permit for storing on site.
And an easy way to distribute those would be as a scanned email
Yeah,
to
it would
these
be.
agencies.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
It'd be pretty instantaneous delivery too.
yeah, cause you could, all their information could all get scanned at one time and just be sent as one packet. Um, I think that would be the easiest way of doing that. Does anyone else have any suggestions for the wording there? To replace the additional permitting, we removed that, but
Mr. Beaver just said.
so if the answer is yes, copy of your state permit,
Well, we're requiring it down here.
And
Yeah.
contact.
so would that be the same? Cause I would think,
Almost to take it out.
cause I would think you'd have your blasting permit to be able to blast, but then you'd have to have, I would think, and please correct me if I'm wrong, cause I probably am, but I would think that you'd have to have a separate permit for the on-site facility that you were storing them,
Maintaining a magazine, I don't know
Yeah.
what that would be, but I mean, I know,
or if it's all included in the permit.
I know in music events, we've got special cases that we have to carry that stuff in the truck. That truck's gotta be placard and. Yeah.
So I don't think they have to get a separate permit for that. I think it's all
It's all
inclusive.
binary too, it isn't active till you mix it.
I remember DVA, they just loaded up the back of the pickup truck, drove it over.
But I'm with Alan, I think this line here is, needs to go away, because we're gonna be I mean, Mr. Bennett is going to be contacted by me and by the
Exactly.
blasting people.
So Mark, how about if we just did it, if the question of, will they be stored on site? If yes, then,
You strike that language below that, cause I'm
Just-
just get a copy of this anyway.
yeah, well, I mean, my point is just to have them so just change it to contact, Trousdale County Fire Department, fire chief.
That's fine.
And that way they've talked to you directly, and just in case you were to, to miss it in emails or whatnot. You're called directly and notified by them. And then they've got your email address, there for the fire department.
Now, the copy they get. The people, say Jones Brothers gets, so they need to have the one with the telephone numbers.
Contact numbers,
Contact.
contact info, that's a good idea.
You know,
Now, this is an application.
Mhm.
Is there ever gonna be a point in time where somebody who fills out the application is not approved?
if they can't supply all the verifiable information.
Right.
Okay,
If they
That
can't.
would be-
I'm just asking that.
Yeah,
That's a good, good point.
Mr. Beeler, I have a question now. Is their stuff transported, volatile, or is it a binary compound that needs to be mixed before it's active?
It's,
Some of
it's,
it.
most of it's gonna be
some of-
more binary, where you've got multiple ingredients
Right.
that have to be either mechanically wired or chemically mixed
It's not explosive till they're mixed.
till they're mixed.
once all primers put
This
in.
over here won't go off, and this over here won't go off. But
Mix them together,
Mix
it's
them
got
together, they're
electricity
going-
will discharge it.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
what ARC is doing out at the PowerCom site, their explosives for the airbags in a wet form is non-explosive. They can do nearly anything they want to with it.
Yeah.
But in a dry form, it becomes explosive. That's where they've got those small buildings, they have drying ovens where they dry the material, get the moisture out of it.
Okay,
When I was bomb tech, we used it training. Had a little bottle of liquid, and you had powder, you just poured it over in it, let it set for about 10 minutes. Put a cap in it, and it was ready to go.
all right, well, since we've got that addressed, does anyone see anything else, or any other information that needs to be added to this form.
This where it says blasting notification, does it need to say blasting application or? Very top.
I would say application, because then it's more of thought. Well, I need to keep applying for this, it needs to be renewed,
Right.
it's not like a one-time deal.
So the thought of
And
doing,
who approves it?
so, and that's, I mean, at this point, it would, if everyone signed off that they've met all the requirements, I mean, Rosalie would handle that in the permitting office, and it would kind of go with, well, like, a burn permit would go, you know, application would go with construction. When they come in, hey, we're gonna be blasting on this, okay, now here's your application. My reasoning for leaving it as blasting notification was to satisfy the motion that was made at planning. And then for what we take to the full commission would say application on it. But I still, like I said, I still haven't heard back from Mr. Beller to find out if planning commission has the authority to create a blasting, you know, permit application. So doing it this way, it's just a collection of information at this point until the full commission were to vote it in and make it a permit.
Put an application on it.
Yeah,
Really, if everything works out, you should be handling.
a permit. But just blasting notification is just a collection of all this information. And then we at least have it on hand. In case this gets bogged down in planning commission's thought was, at least we'll have the information, so if something were to happen, we'd know who to contact. Since so far, the major entities that are gonna be blasting in the near future have all been willing and, I mean, coming to us for, you know, hey, who do I give this information to? It just gives a form, so it's kind of a stopgap until we actually get an application process in place. So yes, for coming out of this committee, it would say blasting application. For planning, something that Rosalie could do, possibly use now, that would just be notification. Does that make sense?
Well, then I think we need to look at the second line here under the notification, because it says often requires a permit which serves to notify of blasting taking place within the county. So you've got a conflict.
And like I said, it's a stopgap that's being taken off of 2 permit applications.
Mhm.
So, for planning parts, yes, we could take that off until, but for as far as what comes out of this committee to go to the full commission, that would still be left in because they would be getting its permit if it passes. So I'm kind of trying to do 2 things at the same time and
Gotcha.
But yeah, I'm gonna use this copy to kind of make those notes because we'll need to get that straightened out for you for planning and at the same time be able to take this on to the commission after that meeting.
So they're wanting to start blasting fairly soon. So what do we want them to fill out? Nicely to fill out.
Just a blasting notification form.
If you get a copy of their license.
Yeah.
You will at least have the responsible party,
That should
so if
almost
there's
be-
an incident, you know who to go back against.
Sure.
So if you got those items you're requesting to check off on the checklist,
that should take care of it
pretty much.
for the
That's,
intern
that,
part.
that it would be a start.
Yeah,
How much we gonna charge?
well, that's something for this body to decide because planning commission can't make that decision. So that discussion starts here. I mean, last meeting's discussion, you know, we threw out so if you made it $100 and they didn't get the permit, what would be the penalty? Well, it would be double the fine. Well, $200, no one's gonna care about that at that level. I mean, they might as well not even get the permit and just pay the $200 and go on.
Anybody know anything about how much they charge around the counties around us?
$100.
Is that out?
So if that's the going rate, I mean, I guess
$100 is $100.
that permit, I guess, would just reimburse the county for Rosalie's time. I mean, that's kind of all I can see as it doing. I personally wouldn't want it to be an overburden, even like I said, because we're not talking just the large companies, but the smaller. to not wanting to discourage development, because let's face it, most of the land around here, you're really gonna have to do some blasting when you get out in the
You're gonna
community to too many.
If you're gonna put a basement in, you're gonna find some rock.
Yeah, so, and then blasting's a lot cheaper than one of those big, rock saws.
But
So,
they've got where now they. Tuck, 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 tuck.
yeah,
They use that more than they do blasting.
yeah, I watched Cass Beasley do that, put it in the road for Acorn behind my house. He said, all that rock, he'll never do it again.
Takes a little while. Yeah.
I mean, it took him,
Yeah,
it took him a couple of months to bust up that rock. Man, that's a lot of gravel he created. But, so yeah, I mean, there are alternatives. And I think those alternatives actually have less threat to damage of your neighbor's property. But I understand the difference in cost too. I mean, my neighbor above me had a rock saw brought in to bury his propane tank, and it was $1,000 a day for the thing to sit there. So, yeah, I mean, it's expensive. All right, and well, if there's, for the permit part, we're thinking $100.
Is this the? No blasting in Fishkill Stream, that's probably law somewhere else anyway.
In the state.
Yeah.
When they go to the state fire marshal's office, they have the state thing there.
So it's,
If That would
It's-
stop something that somebody else would allow.
no, and that came right off of, can't remember if that was Goodlettsville or if that was Lebanon's. So much stuff piled in there more. But, yeah, that came right off of their permit. I just thought that was, I mean, to me, that just seems just common sense there.
Yeah, I was
Um,
not gonna have regulation
Yeah,
through someone else, not just us.
The natural gas line, they don't know it.
Yeah.
They're people,
They'll be there.
yeah,
and I can understand that for the polyethylene, you know, the plastic pipe, I mean, it absorbed the shock more than a metal one, So I got the difference. And didn't, when I put it, when this was put together, I just didn't see a point of reinventing the wheel. They had it in theirs and it made sense.
Just as a question,
Yes, sir.
would a blaster have to do the one call for utility placement? Alan, that getting more in your territory.
I don't know if us ever have one for blasting, but that doesn't mean it's.
I know if you're digging close to them, you have to do the one call. But I didn't know whether blasting came under the same guidelines as digging or not.
I could find out.
there's probably some poles and lines to the back of that trailer court. It's gonna be right up there close to this plastic, where they're gonna be working. I walked that here a while back and I could see the tops of the buildings just. Like we can run off over a hill.
Yeah.
And down in the valley, they were right there close. And I was thinking, ooh.
Blasting could damage in-ground utilities just like digging could. And
Sure.
I'm just raising a point there. I don't
Yes,
know
sir.
whether it's covered or not.
I'll find out.
Water lines.
Water lines,
Hopefully,
Gas,
Gas.
line, yeah.
homeowner gas lines.
as far as Stark County is, we're not even on one call either.
But you don't have many service lines buried except going the last distance to the homeowner,
Yeah, I ain't.
sort of from the last pole to the house.
Well, the new houses, old houses still have it.
Above,
Which mine were down there.
it's mostly water and phone, and the
Run up
natural
to-
gas, I imagine.
They just take long to see.
CT McCall, they make a delivery, always hits them, knocks them. They sag down that, they have to get out, push them up or do something.
All right, so what we've laid out in this, is this satisfactory to what y'all were discussing on last meeting? Well, then I'd entertain a motion to send it on to planning, Beller, and then the full commission.
With.
With the
verbiage
changes.
correction, yeah,
Yes, sir.
motion.
I have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, it passes. All right, well, that's one down, easy enough. Now, Mark, you're up.
Let me give you a little background as I start and what I'd like to accomplish with you is to recreate a no open burn policy for the city or the urban services district. The state changed some things with their burn permit in the fall. And they had our county being locked out of obtaining a burn permit through the state forestry for several months. We began to research this, and I had always been told that there was a no open burn policy that covered the city, the Old Town of Hartsville regulations. I spoke to Chief Jimmy Anthony, and he said he was of the same impression. It had been told to him, but he'd never seen a copy of it. Said, okay, I'll start doing some research and see if I can find a copy, because my thinking was I'd like to be able to hand a copy of that restriction out when building permits are obtained. The trouble we are having recently involves homes being built in town where contractors burn their scrap debris. It's a common practice, but it doesn't fit the guidelines here in town. So I began researching. I found out that the burn restriction was passed in 1993, before metropolitan government came in. So it was a town of Hartsville ordinance. We can find in the minutes where they reference the ordinance by number and a date of the meeting. But there's no copy of the ordinance, so we don't know what it says. I checked with Rita and asked her to look for old records, couldn't find it. I went through Amy and she looked at the old municipal code. It doesn't exist in there. I checked with Brandon Beller. He also had an old municipal code, doesn't exist. Checked with Wayland, he didn't have it. And I checked with Zach Taylor to see if Betty Lou's old city notebook had it. Nobody's got it. So in essence, if we can't produce a copy, we in essence don't have a valid ordinance. So we're going to have to go back and recreate a restrictive ordinance for open burns. I did reach out to Rick Gregory a few weeks ago, and Rick sent me 3 examples. And did you provide them to you?
Yeah.
To them? Okay. Those are just 3 quick ones that he sent me. One of them was the city of Lebanon's restriction. Another one is the city of Goodlettsville. And the third one was Ashland City. I really don't have a preference at this point. What I really want to do with you tonight is just start the dialogue. I don't think we're ready to draft one on paper yet. I did think that the one for the city of Lebanon is a little more inclusive than the other 2 were. And what we were trying to prevent was scrap and debris burning, fallen trees or limbs. You can't burn trash in yards.
But if you've got brush from pruning and trees that have fallen, you can't cut that up and take it out in the back.
Not technically according to the old rules that we've been following. Now, if you want to permit that, we're open to this discussion. And we pretty much got a clean slate, Lonnie, so we
Right.
can make anything fit wherever we want it to fit. And then the fire department will help to regulate and enforce this, but right now, we don't have anything that I can
What about
enforce.
somebody just having something to sit around and have a fire, you know?
Well, typically,
Or
fire
fire
pits
pit.
or fire like that are permitted.
Because it's not open burning.
Grilling outdoors is permitted, or cooking over like a campfire in the backyard is permitted. Those type things are normally allowed. It's just you can't have a steel drum in the backyard that you use as a burn barrel. Or you
I
can't,
seen somebody here a while back had.
Louis
Right.
Beasley's doing it over behind the office. He's putting one out there, he's been burning silver for a while, I don't know if that's helping.
So, two things. One, can you give us kind of a general definition of what the fire department thinks of as open burn?
well, it would be
This Lebanon one, like he said. I
like the
agree.
Lebanon
Really concise.
enumerated a lot of things. You can't burn refuse, garbage, trade waste, trees, limbs, leaves, brush, grass, flammables, combustibles, materials from construction or salvage operations. And then that last line there, without written permission from the fire chief. Now, we get in, you need to have an out.
Mhm.
So that in certain cases, certain things could be permitted to happen. And I'll give you for example, the water department was clearing land out on Perrier's Bend for the water tank. They had a lot of tree debris that they needed to dispose of. I allowed them to burn some tree brush piles. Under the old guidelines, it would have been something prohibited. It's an open burn. But I think under certain circumstances, the fire chief needs to have some wiggle room that for certain situations, you can allow exceptions. Or if we get a massive tornado or windstorm or ice storm that comes through, and Public Works has a lot of debris that they can't chip or get rid of any other way effectively, we could allow an open brush pile burn to get rid of some of that collected debris. So we need a option out. But for the most part, those are the types of things you're trying to prohibit in a city. And you do it because your lot sizes are small, your houses are close together. Most of your housing in town is on half-acre or three-quarter acre lots. Very few of your homes in town are even on full acre lots. David, I'd say yours out there probably half-acre lots. Yours may be half-acre lots where you are.
I
Yours,
got almost 3.
well, you're the exception though, where you are. Yours were sold that way.
It was sold with an acre, and then he said we buy what's behind us, so he's gonna build apartments on it, so we all bought 2 acres behind us. Yeah, it takes a long time to mow.
But for the most part, homes in town were built on half to three-quarter acre lots. So they're too close to one another to start a debris burn that might easily endanger a neighbor.
Right.
So that's why I'm here tonight, and it's not unusual for cities to have restrictions. And I'm not talking about any kind of restriction that would cover the general service area or the rural part of the county.
Yeah.
Just the urban,
with a less dense population.
that's right.
Now,
So
Everything's more spread out.
Anybody burn garbage in the
No.
city, because we got free pick, got to pick
Right.
up. But I've seen,
And tree limbs too, you can periodically get, Public Works will come through and pick up, tree debris.
you put it on
It's
side
not
of
as
the
often
road,
as it used to be.
they'll get it.
They want you bringing it to them.
Okay.
They don't pick up as often as they used to.
So let me ask you this, Chief, if you don't mind, can you make any amendments that you would like to say, like this Lebanon example? If there's any amendments that
Yeah,
you
I
would
will.
like to see?
Yeah.
Because after looking at the other two, this is the one that would probably
It's a little more comprehensive.
Well, the other
closely
ones
match
are,
our agenda here.
are very, well, they're left very vague.
And-
And I
and I
think
just-
done on purpose that way.
I just casually spoke to David the other night at the commission meeting to kind of open the door for this, and he said, well, come on this week and we'll start, so. I'll help you to navigate through this, but I wanted to test the water and see whether you're gonna be receptive or not before we
Yeah, let's
spend a
do it.
lot of time on it.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
And this, I think, will be another one, and I like the way Rick does it. He doesn't send us, and on stuff like this, he doesn't send us examples that are identical. He picks them from certain areas so that there's a differing between them, so that we can
either
actually.
pull from all of them or just
Right.
Exactly.
adopt one.
And I may reach out to GNRC also and talk to one of their planners down there and see if they've got some other city examples in addition to these three.
Well, we got a meeting Monday night. No, no, that's, that's
Emergency
me,
services.
never mind. Excuse me.
Well, that'll be fire department,
And
and I think it does need to be brought up there also.
it will be brought up. I think this group is the one that needs to formulate the paperwork and then disperse it to the other committees and the
I agree with
commissions.
So do I make a motion to grant him the liberty to move forward?
I think that would be I still, there's a little more discussion I'd like to have before we take a motion on this. And because there's that definition of an open burn, because.
Not contained in any way, isn't it?
Because in the discussion, burning in a burn barrel, well, a burn barrel is not an open burn, it's controlled. So then what's the difference between a burn barrel and a fire pit? And making those distinctions is gonna be important,
Yeah.
because I know, me personally, I've got a fire pit in my backyard. I know several people in the
I
city.
got a bunch of tree limbs down, I burn them.
Well,
I've got some brush on a rock, big old.
there's
rock.
been no penalty for people that do burn. A lot of times fire is dispatched. We go, we see what the situation is. Sometimes we'll just sort of turn a blind eye and let it go. Other times, especially if the homeowner is not very cooperative, we'll put enough water on it that he won't start it back that night. But
And I guess when I was.
there was really no penalties for violating this.
I'd like to see a
Oh.
penalty. Otherwise, you're gonna have construction companies who just aren't gonna care. And
And
there's no penalty.
Oh, the house they just built right next door to me, when they got done, I never seen the biggest pile of scrap lumber and.
Yeah.
right, and
Bits and
that's a
stuff, they
typical
just
way
lit it up and burned
construction
it.
work is done.
Or when they're in the winter around in my subdivision as they're building, they have a continual fire burning to keep warm.
Keep
Yeah.
warm,
And just
the
keep
work
throwing all their
warm.
trash on.
And David, one thing we might want to do too is since the
Can you
old
step just a little bit? We are recording that on the laptop.
since the minutes from the 1993 city council reference a certain ordinance that was passed but can't be found. We might want to draft this as an amendment to,
That specific.
because
Or a
technically,
replacement of.
or replacement of, because technically, everything that was on the books with the old city was merged in when we became metropolitan. So the old city
Yep.
ordinances, and rather than starting this as a brand new one, it probably should be either a replacement or an amendment to.
I agree with that. Do you still have the ordinance number for that?
Yes, I do.
Because we'll need that when we're actually drafting this, so Amy can put that on there and as the ordinance number for it.
We just can't find the document that it.
In fact, the document that was, when they had the flood, that building, they had it all out of their
I'm betting
record.
that's where they are.
I think that's what happened. They, of course, it
A
destroyed
lot of
all
times
of
they stored old records in the basement or in a
And that-
storage unit over
it.
there.
And they had that big flood, and that's what a lot of it.
And I think that's the correct course of action for us to do, is to start with that number and then just do a replacement or in lieu of ordinance so-and-so, and then whatever we come up with. out of
We've
this.
got an ordinance number and we've got a date that they passed it, so we can work from there to amend or replace. And since we don't know exactly what the other one said, I'd lean more toward replacing.
I did look at, we were having the discussion with the difference with the fire pits and whatnot. The city of Goodlettsville and theirs, they actually have a spot that specifically calls out fire pits. And, it reads fire pits or recreational fires at your residence can be done without a permit as long as the size of your fire bed does not exceed 3 foot by 3 foot. So you can't say, oh, well, I'm just having a bonfire in my backyard. You can't,
Yeah.
and you're burning, trying to get around the permit process. It controls it down to a recreational size, not something you would do for disposing of refuge and whatnot. But the whole point of this is to try to keep a fire from getting out of hand and burning your house and your neighbors.
Yeah,
Right.
or the whole neighborhood.
Yeah, well, neighborhood.
And I'm not ready at this juncture to present anything for passage, but I'm just opening dialogue for discussion.
So,
Well, then, yeah, Lonnie, if you still want to make that same
I'd
motion.
like to make a motion that we give him the liberty to continue to fine tune the document that he's gotten and gather more information and he's prepared to bring it forward.
second.
All in favor? All right, it passes.
I'll try to have it for your next month's meeting, if not certainly by the second month.
Okay.
We should have you something that's ready to go.
No worries. Thank you.
I think, as long as we have something to get to the commission before, budget talks, we can even get it done. We get into, hey, well, you know how that goes, Mark.
I do.
Do both these places burn permit, they charge for a burn permit?
Actually,
One of those cities did, but to my knowledge, they've never been a charge here at all.
Goodlettsville's a $5 charge on, according to theirs. That's the only price I see. I mean, I didn't even see a price for Lebanon.
I don't think Lebanon had a price on there.
And if Lebanon's not gonna charge, we really look bad trying to charge. Cause they charge for everything.
Oh, my goodness.
And the state of, the state does not charge for the ones in the rural areas. A farmer can call for a burn permit to burn a brush pile, and all they're doing is trying to identify where the fire will happen, and there's no charge for that.
I just want to Jones Brothers got to burn out there on my property, they got like.
During
3 or
certain
4
times
sites.
of the year, you do.
I just want to go.
From October to May, you do. From May to October, you do not. There's about a 6-month window, mostly in the winter time, that you have to have a burn permit from the state in the rural area.
I don't think you're catching fire from this out there.
Not today.
Not today.
But this, this summer, it got dry here and
Mark, I've got a little brush pile that I've been meaning to burn from when I had some storm damage and stuff, some landscaping things. And it's sitting on a big flat piece of bluff rock, about 2 acres from the house, in the middle of a field that's about 20. And I don't know what I'd have to do about burning that, or do I have to literally go get a pickup truck, drive out there where I drug that shit to, and load it up and then haul it to town? I don't know. Thank you.
Just call your neighbors to let them know so they won't report it as an open fire.
I'll do that.
If that works.
That day. Because you know I'm gonna be responsible enough to make sure it's not dry and all that around there.
Before you head out, Mark, so speaking of next month's meeting, I was scrolling through the calendar and Thursday seemed to be a pretty good, is that Thursday night's working for everyone? That allows, we're trying to get, Rick in here to be able to kind of go through some stuff and Thursday seemed to keep him from backing into other prior commitments that he has with other counties. So the next available spot would be the 29th of February. That's
You always meet on the fourth Thursday.
We don't, we just, that's just what's already available there.
And the
Normally,
only reason I say that, from my personal standpoint,
Mhm.
the second and the fourth Thursdays are fire department meetings.
well,
And the fourth Thursday, we always do training. In fact, I've got a crew down the street doing training tonight while I'm here.
so and I was checking on that and for February, you've got the 8th and the 22nd. And so the 29th, there's nothing booked for the fire
Okay.
department.
Okay.
That's the great thing with my position is I get all the calendars on my calendar.
We're not gonna have that early in the month, just have it
But we
late.
don't, there's not actually, I mean, I'm looking at the county's calendar. And there's nothing available unless we do a Wednesday night, which Rick can't make those meetings.
29th of February.
So it'd be, yeah, the 29th of February here at 7.
Is it safe here?
Yeah,
It is.
I'm next.
so I have a
I'm on.
question.
Yes, ma'am.
This application, are we bringing it back to this committee to look at, or are we going ahead and sending it to plan?
No, my thought was, planning's gonna receive the blasting notification though.
Mhm.
Per the motion that was made at the end of that meeting. The application will come back to this meeting on the 29th for full review before it gets sent on to Brandon and then planning
And so back to planning again as a permit rather
as a
than.
permit, yes,
Okay.
because everything has to go through planning when it comes to codes and zoning. I guess codes it wouldn't, would it? It's just a formality giving it to them anyway, as far as the application part of it. It wouldn't have to, but let them see what we've done. That way everyone's on the same page. But yes, they'll get this version. And then we'll be working on the application version here, and then it'll just get passed around to the full commission. So we should be able to get everything to them by
We
March.
need to, get it, right, because I'm sure they're getting close.
Yeah.
Molten
So
glass.
the application process, then we can, yeah, because it'd be nice to be able to have a meeting before the full commission, or at least work session. I just don't know if they're going to, I don't know if we're gonna have enough time to get it put together, this body to look at it again. And get it to Brandon for his approval before commission, because we have a short month. I mean, even if we did it on a Wednesday night and just to take care of this part. Give Rick some more time to get some more, what he's doing done to actually have something to present to us. If we did that on a Wednesday night, I mean, we could. I don't know how y'all wanna do on the 14th, but the 7th is available.
Seventh, be the 14th,
Yeah,
about that, but
They could do it the
are
seventh.
you okay on the 7th
Uh,
of February? Cause that'd get it in before planning, so everything could go to them. And the whole purpose of having this meeting was because of for the blasting part was just a time. But I don't know how
tentatively, because I need to get with you and give you my new schedule.
Okay,
We wrap rehearsals on the 7th, but it's
Okay.
at Belmont. We're using the curb center, the arena there
yeah,
to rehearse it.
so you're not gonna make it back by 7.
What's the last, we were wrapping that day. I don't think
Okay.
they'll start tearing down the loading,
Okay,
probably right at lunch. I don't know. I mean, I have no clue.
So we're still having 29 or?
well, that's the discussion. If we're wanting to try to get this into commission in February so that they can vote on it, we'd be looking at the 7th at that point would be the only time we could get in, looking at the calendar.
I think, well, I say, they're
Tentatively
very
set over the
close,
7th.
they're very close to
Do my
wanting to
best
blow
to
up
get it.
something.
And if not.
As soon as this weather breaks, it ain't raining no more, it ain't muddy,
Enbridge.
huh?
I said, so if it's not Jones Brothers, then it's gonna be Enbridge that So we need to get ahead.
So let's just set it for the seventh,
Set it
I'll
for the
get here if I can, I'll do my best.
And I probably will not have the, that's no burn ordinance
And that's correct.
by then, but we'll shoot for the next time we meet.
100%.
Because we should be able to have a meeting early March.
Okay.
And that gives you plenty of time to get things together.
Yeah.
The urgency of this is more for the blasting permit
Yes.
side, so.
I understand that.
I'm off for the whole month of March.
And I'll add you to the distribution list to the rest. Thank you, sir.
Do you need me further?
No, sir.
Okay.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
night, Mark.
Thank you, sir. County Court's next meeting is work session's the 20th of February because the ninth. Oh, as far as the courthouse? So every,
No, he's gonna have, warehouse.
oh, that, the called meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna have a call meeting.
The called meeting
But that's
is
the only thing we'll be able to discuss will be the jail.
the 15th at 7 P.M. According to the handy dandy county calendar.
So a call meeting's gonna be on the 15th.
So it'll be February 15th at 7 P.M.
What about the regular county commission?
That's on a Thursday, so you still have the county commission work sessions on the 20th. And then that's a Tuesday because President's Day is the 19th. And then commission meeting on the 26th,
Work session.
work session on the 20th.
I have to miss that call meeting. That's terrible.
It's terrible. And then the regular one will be on the 26th.
You have such a good speech too.
I don't know about that,
You did give a good speech.
yeah, the 15th, I'm in Abbotsford, British Columbia.
So, any other, discussion?
Motion to adjourn.
All right.
Second.
All right, we are adjourned.